Chapter 1. The Biological Machine. Imagine you are a Roman legionnaire in the year 103 AD. You are marching through the wild frontiers of Dacia. On your back, you carry a suit of chainmail, a heavy shield, 2 spears, and your personal gear. Total weight, roughly 66 pounds. Every single day, you march 20 miles. To keep that machine of muscle and bone moving, you need something more precious than gold: calories. Most of us look at history through the lens of swords, great conquests, and proud emperors. But at Remnara, we look at history through the lens of physics and logistics. The rise and fall of Rome was not just a political drama. It was a massive, 1,000-year exercise in energy management. A single Roman soldier on the march required about 3,000 calories a day. At the height of the Pax Romana, the empire maintained a standing army of roughly 375,000 men. Do the math. The Roman army required over 1 billion calories every single day just to exist. That is 36 billion calories every month. If you cannot provide that energy, the army disintegrates before the enemy ever swings a sword. So the real question isn't how Rome conquered the world. The question is, how did they find enough fuel to feed the beast? Chapter 2. Egypt, the empire's power bank. Why was Rome so obsessed with Egypt? The answer lies in the mud of the Nile. In the ancient world, agricultural efficiency was incredibly low. An average farmer produced only about 20% more food than they needed to survive. This meant you needed 5 farmers just to support one person who didn't farm, someone like a soldier, a priest, or a stonemason. But Egypt was an anomaly. Thanks to the predictable, nutrient-rich flooding of the Nile, agricultural yields there were several times higher than the rest of the world. Egypt wasn't just another province. It was a massive power bank for the entire system. Every year, over 500,000 tons of grain were shipped from Alexandria to the Roman port of Ostia. To visualize this in terms of energy, that is an annual influx of 1.5 trillion calories. This surplus energy allowed Rome to do something no other nation could: pull millions of people away from the fields and put them to work elsewhere. Building the Colosseum required energy. Maintaining a legal system required energy. Writing philosophy required energy. The Roman Empire, at its core, was a system designed to harvest calories from the periphery and move them to the center to create what we call civilization. Chapter 3. The Friction of Distance. There is a brutal reality in ancient logistics. Transporting food over land was an economic disaster. Back then, a grain-heavy ox cart could only travel about 15 miles a day. The problem? The ox has to eat too. If you tried to transport grain over land for more than 100 miles, the ox would consume half the cargo it was carrying just to stay alive. This is the friction of distance. It's like driving an electric car where the battery drains itself just by sitting in traffic. Because of this, Rome made a strategic choice. They didn't build an empire of land. They built an empire of water. Transporting goods by sea was 50 times cheaper than by land. The Mediterranean was not a barrier. It was an energy superhighway. Any city located far from the sea or a major river was limited in size by the calories the surrounding land could provide. But Rome, connected to every port in the world, became the first city in history to reach a population of 1 million. They broke the laws of nature by sucking energy from 3 continents into a single point. Chapter 4. Monuments of Surplus. Look at the Colosseum. Historians talk about limestone and slaves, but let's look at it through the lens of physics. To move a 5-ton block of stone from a quarry to the city center, you need hundreds of men and oxen. All of them consume calories every second they work. Building the Colosseum wasn't just a financial cost, it was a massive burn of energy. The fact that Rome could build dozens of such wonders proves they had a massive energy surplus. When a society has extra energy, they build monuments. When energy is tight, they use every drop just to survive. Even the famous Roman roads served this purpose. They weren't built for tourists. They were designed to minimize friction for marching armies and supply trains. Every mile of paved, flat road was an amount of calories saved for the empire. It was an investment in efficiency. Chapter 5. The Energy Debt. Every system has a limit. And for Rome, the limit was reached when the cost of acquiring calories became higher than the value those calories provided. As the empire expanded too far, they had to maintain armies in harsh frontier regions like Britain or Germany. These lands did not have a Nile. Farming there was difficult and inefficient. To feed a soldier on the German border, Rome had to transport grain from thousands of miles away. At this point, the energy equation flipped. The cost of logistics began to eat the empire's profit. Emperors began to raise taxes, but taxes were paid in grain, and transporting that grain to the troops cost more energy than the grain itself provided. This is what we call an energy debt. In the 3rd century, when civil wars and plagues struck, the transport systems in the Mediterranean were disrupted. The power bank in Egypt was still full, but the wires to Rome were cut. When the calories stopped flowing to the center, the city began to starve. From 1 million people, Rome's population plummeted to just a few tens of thousands over the next few centuries. The empire didn't collapse because they lost their courage. It collapsed because they no longer had the energy to maintain the complexity of the system. Conclusion: the law of energy. The story of Rome teaches us a vital lesson. Civilization is a fragile structure built on energy surplus. Today we use oil and electricity instead of barley and oxen, but the laws of logistics and friction have not changed. We take pride in our algorithms and our artificial intelligence, but remember, even the most powerful supercomputer needs energy to run, just as a Roman soldier needed 3,000 calories on the march. History isn't just about what happened, it's about how we manage the resources to stay alive. Thank you for joining Remnara for this strange angle on the past. If you enjoyed this data-driven look at history, hit the subscribe button. We have many more chronicles to share through lenses you've never seen before. I am Remnara, and this is history from a different angle. We will